Hello, and welcome to day number 2 of our composing and mixing workshop. So today's focus is going to be on the mixing aspect, as yesterday we focused on composing. So we have two different pieces that we are going to be mixing today. Both are going to be mixed differently because they are two completely different genres. Of course, we are going to play both pieces just to remind ourselves what we have. But, I kept both on the same project. It might affect us later, but, we won't worry about that right now. So here we go. I'll just review what we have from yesterday. So here's the first piece that we were able to create. So that was the first piece that we were able to compose yesterday. It sounds very ambient. It repeats quite a bit. Although we did have some of those subtle changes with like the chords and where they resolve to. But other than that, it's just mostly background music, I would say. It's not really anything that's not really too engaging of music, not too much going on with it. And then the second piece that we composed, I remember I really hated this one. And it's like a love-hate relationship with the second piece that we were able to make. So let's just revisit that. So that's the second piece that we were able to compose yesterday. It's very contrasting with the first one. There's a lot more like acoustic instruments, like more real instruments, as the first one is more like synths and stuff like that. This one's more of like the bass, the whirly. There is the lead synth, but for the most part, it's not all synth based. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, let's jump right into some mixing now. So, a good spot to start would be trying to think of what type of like mood or like setting you might be able to hear this music in. So I think it's very ambient. So I think that what we should have is something that makes it sound more ambient. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, a more ambient sound, more. Let me just see what I could do. So, I love the J37. It's a tape machine. Let's see. So, basically, what it does is if I go very drastic with it, this is the slap. So, here's slap. So it's kind of like a echo almost. Then with the fork, here is that. So that's another type of echo. I also love the ping pong, so it kind of just like bounces between the left and right channels depending on how you have it set up. So what I usually do is change like one of these settings. So it's like not as quick on one side. So like on the left side, it'll be mostly on the left, a little bit less on the right. So it kind of creates that left to right ping pong effect. Wait. There you go. So if we move that all the way to the right, you'll still hear it on the left channel as well. Just due to the ping pong effect. So now that we have that, I also like to pan some instruments to make it have the sound of it be wider. Let's see. I'm thinking of also panning this. I probably won't pan the mutant keys because that kind of has like the structure between both channels. So I'll keep that one alone. Maybe pan this one out a little bit more to the right. We'll see what that sounds like. So we have that so far. I'm thinking about changing the instrument sound itself a little bit. Maybe add like a bit more ambiance to the guitar. We also move up the high end a little bit, just so that it kind of sticks out a little bit more in the sound. I'm kind of thinking maybe we could do the same thing with the Pixel EP. We could, well, if we have like a slower attack speed, so it doesn't, uh, here. So that's with a higher attack speed. This is with like no attack speed. So it kind of like hits quicker, but when you turn up the attack speed, it kind of just a little slower. I want to find a happy medium. I don't want it to be too slow, and I don't want it to be too quick. There we go. I'm thinking that if we change the attack speed on these other instruments as well, it will kind of blend together a lot nicer. So let's move the mutant keys up, change the attack speed to be slower. We could do it a lot slower. So yeah, that's definitely changes the sound of that piece quite a bit without us having to do too much already. Let me see. Because I'm also thinking maybe we could change the release a bit. Let's see what this does. So DK kind of, uh, like extends it or shortens it. So if we have like 0%, it goes away really quick. If we have 100%, it's just gonna be colliding with all the other notes. Almost. I think that that will work right there. I'm curious though if we move up the lo-fi a bit. It kind of makes it quieter. Tremolo. Actually, tremolo might not be a bad idea. I quite like the tremolo. It adds just a little bit of variety to it. Um, let me see the Pixel EP though. What if we just move this? Let's see what this does. Maybe right there. Yeah, so I'm not gonna add too much tremolo to the Pixel EP. It doesn't sound like it really needs it. We already have the mutant keys that has a bit of tremolo, so I think we're just gonna leave that alone. So if we move over to the main melody and see what we could do with this. So I probably don't want that attack speed too slow, because it is the melody, so there's like a lot of quicker moving notes. Of course, I could add some drive to it, so it sounds a lot distorted. If we move up the resonance a bit, that just sounds wider. So there's that so far. I remember yesterday we put the EQ on the melody synth, so it kind of brings it out a bit more. So I'll leave that just like that. I'm thinking maybe we could change the EQ on some of the other instruments. Not too much though. Of course, it doesn't want to show. Yeah, not gonna bother. We're not gonna EQ the other instruments. They're all virtual instruments anyway. You don't really have to EQ them. So that's fine. We'll just leave those as is. So I just have that J37 so far just to create that ping pong effect. Not really doing too much. We could probably even slow it down and see what that sounds like. So basically what I'm changing here is the formula. It's like, this is like the oldest one. I think that that was more of like the one that the Beatles used. And then this one's more of like, still an older one, but I think that's like the latter half of the Beatles' career, like maybe Abbey Road. And then this is the newer one. I believe that that's the one that's at Abbey Road Studios right now. I might be wrong. But the J37 is tied to the Beatles. That's another reason why I love the J37. But I'm thinking the vintage one, the oldest model, sounds like it fits the piece a bit more, because it makes it sound a little more vintagey. And then what else I want to do is I want to add a compressor. And that compressor is going to be another one that is used at Abbey Roads. This one. I love this compressor. Of course, it kind of makes everything sound like a little blurry almost. So here it is without. And then with. So let's see what we could do. Let's play around with this a little bit. I usually use the MS, which I believe is like mono stereo. It usually makes the mix sound a lot wider. Whether that actually fits the piece or not, I guess it's up to the listener. It definitely makes the piece a lot quieter, which, I mean, we could definitely do like more input, just raise the input for everything, but I just don't think that this compressor is going to be the one for this piece. It doesn't really fit too much. So if we use a standard Logic Pro compressor, we're gonna put the knee all the way up so that it's like smoother transition. It doesn't, if we do it like this, like at 0, you could see right there's that giant curve. So this kind of makes it like more natural, less dramatic. So I think that compressor fits the sound a bit better than the Abbey Road one. Of course, if we want to keep going for that vintage sound, we could also use another Abbey Road plugin that I have, which is going to be the Abbey Road vinyl. I actually haven't used this in a while, but basically it just adds a vinyl sound to your mix, as you would guess. Like you have the crackle, you have the density of the clicks, turn on clicks. It's a fun little plugin. Of course, we probably don't want too much. Maybe a little crackle. Some clicks. I like to move the tone arm usually towards there. So let's see. I think that that adds a nice vintage layer to the piece. Uh, we could get a little fun and play around with like the wow and the flutter. Those are always fun to play with. I don't think that we're gonna keep any of them though, but let's see what it sounds like. Maybe it'll sound good. Okay, maybe a little flutter. A little flutter sounds like it fits in nicely. The wow though, I don't think that that one fits in at all. Just a little bit. So yeah, I like how that sounds so far. As for like adding anything else though, I don't necessarily think that we would use any of these other plugins for this first piece per se, because a lot of the other ones, and I'm gonna use a lot of the other ones for this one because it's gonna fit a lot better. So you'll probably see why eventually. Why I wouldn't use it for this one necessarily. But yeah. So we went through, mixed each instrument. I'm gonna turn the vinyl off for now because it's like constantly playing in the background. But yeah, we mix all these pieces, instruments. I don't really know if I would want to change like these two settings necessarily. But I mean, let's experiment. Let's see what it would sound like. Oh, kind of like that. Although the Pixel EP is a bit louder than the main melody, which we don't really want. Instead of instead of just turning that down, we could also add an exciter onto this. Yeah, here we go, exciter. So the exciter basically just makes it sound louder. So here it is. And without it. It actually doesn't do too much to the synth, but there is some very subtle differences. I'm just changing the frequency. I probably want to... I probably want to... So I could hear the melody over the Pixel EP a bit better. So they're not really both fighting for your attention. So yeah, that's how that first piece sounds. I don't know if any of you have feedback or suggestions on, like, what you think of this so far. But, I think that that's a good mix. I can't really think of anything else that it might need changing. So I think that that's going to be that one. So yeah. So we will move on to the second piece now. Let's see what we could do with this one. Right, we probably want to turn all these off, because it's not going to be the same mix. So right off the bat with this one, I already know that I want to use this compressor, the Abbey Road compressor. I think that this one is going to fit this piece a lot better. So let's kind of work this one into this. That completely changes how the synth sounds. Let me see if I could do something to help that synth out so it doesn't change so much. It sounds like it's getting rid of some of the high end. Also, I think it's doing something odd with the reverb. Let me turn the reverb down. Okay. I think that that kind of salvaged the synth a little bit. Yeah, I think that that help the synth out. So, so the other plugins that I'm thinking of using would probably be the BB tubes and the H-comp. So let's use the H-comp first. So the H-comp and the Abbey Road Studios compressors kind of like complement each other. I just love to pair these two together because they just help the mix so much with expanding it. So it's like the Abbey Road one kind of expands the mix, and then the H-comp kind of brings the mix closer. So yeah, I definitely love those two together. I'm thinking that we should also pan the instruments a bit. So let me choose a drum kit that we could actually open up each instrument. There we go. So as you could see, only a select few of these are panned. I'm thinking, so overheads you probably don't want to pan. You want that right down the middle. The kicks you don't really want to pan too much. The snares we could pan. I'm trying to think of drummer perspective. I don't play the drums, but I do look at images of like the drummer perspective and the best way to mix the drums. I think the snare goes on the left. I might be wrong. But we're gonna mix the snare on the left. Even though that might be completely wrong for drummer perspective. The hi-hat, yeah, that's good on the right. The toms are good on the right. The tom mid, let's pan that over to the right a little bit. Tambourine, I think it was the tambourine that we used. Let's move that over to the left. The shaker we did not use. So let's see how the drums sound. So yeah, that kind of expands the mix as well. So let's add in that other plugin, the BB tubes. This is another one that I like. It kind of just adds a little bit of like drive. It definitely helps the drums out, I think. It adds, like, more depth to the drums. And of course, when we throw in all the other instruments, it kind of naturally just gets quiet. But yeah, I think that between the whirly and the drums, I like that. It definitely helps complement all those instruments. And let's see, what else could we do with all these instruments? So we could probably pan some of the instruments, like if we wanted the whirly to one side, then if we... Oh. Let's have the whirly go here, and then the snares following the bass. So if we have the bass lined up on the left. So you have that. One of the things that I didn't really do was play around with the whirly too much. So as this is a Spitfire instrument, I kind of have all different presets and all different, like, settings and stuff that you could do with it. So you could have, like, a classic whirly, a mellow, a funky, or a stabs. I like the funky whirly. Let's try this out and see what we could do with it. Let's turn the reverb up a bit. Let's turn the tremolo. Of course, there's so many other songs that we could play with it, like all the different these. So I think that whirly fits the sound a little bit better than the previous whirly that we were using. Mm, So let's see. So as we continue on. Oh, I guess Logic Pro froze. Yay. Let's see. Okay. I don't know how long Logic Pro was frozen for, but it decided to freeze at some point. So anyways, just to backtrack a bit, I changed the the synth, I changed the whirly to be more of the funky whirly. Instead, we're using the classic one. So the classics whirly sounded like this in the mix. went ahead and changed the classic whirly to the funky whirly, which sounded like this. Which I think it sounds a lot better than the classic whirly sound that we had previously. I think that it adds a bit more drive to it. I really hate how Logic Pro had to freeze on me. So anyways, let's continue. So we have that, we have the synth, we have the bass. I don't think that there's really too much that we could change about the bass. Unless we change the exciter on it a little bit, as we already have the exciter right there. Let's see. So yeah, that is the second piece. I don't really know if there's like anything else that we would really throw onto it. Cause let's see. King's microphones, no, we're not gonna use that. H-comp, not really. We could try and use the J37 and try and incorporate it into this. Let's see what that sounds like. No. So if we add in a new J37 though, then we kind of, let's see. Let's try and make this work. I think that works. If we slow it down a bit, maybe that will help. So it further expands the mix, but I don't think that it's doesn't make it like too muddy or anything like that. So it's a nice little addition to the piece. Yeah. So I know that I scheduled this workshop to like 1:30, but I don't think that we are going to be using that full amount of time. I mean, both pieces are mixed. I'll probably upload these to my YouTube so you could hear the pieces in full. And it does sound like something closer to what you would find on like Spotify or on YouTube or something like that. It sounds more polished. Both of these pieces sound more polished. I'm just curious though, how would this piece sound with the mixing of the second piece? Let's see. Does that mixing really work for that piece? Not really, no. But for the second piece, it works perfect. With the new mixing for the second piece, I could definitely vibe with it a lot more than yesterday when it wasn't mixed. So yes, I think that that is going to pretty much end today's event. Because there's not really too much more that we could do with either of these pieces. You could kind of pass them off as, like, being final, like the finished product. And, of course, with anything, you could hypothetically keep editing it, keep adding to it, and just keep changing it. But in our case, I think that both pieces sound good. I'm satisfied with both of them, and I honestly can't think of any other changes that could be made with either piece. So, for the sake of, well, not dragging this event on for a lot longer than it needs to go, I'm just going to wrap it up. Both of these pieces I will post to my YouTube. I think you could find my YouTube on my Roblox account. But I do still strongly suggest that you join my Guilded, because it's the best way to give me feedback, keep up to date with my events, and all that other fun stuff. So yes, thank you for tuning in and joining my event today. I do plan on hosting more. I do want to stay on top of it and keep the events going, keep the music events going, keep the music playing. So keep an eye out for that. And yes, that should do it. Have a good day.